Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Our Dinner is Done. I'm Sally.
I'm Jimmy.
If this is your first time joining us, welcome. If it's not, welcome back. Tonight, we're going to be making a vegetarian meal, a stuffed portobello mushroom. Mushrooms, I'll say plural. We're making multiple. These are large portobello mushrooms. You could do this, I'm sure, with baby bellas too, but it just would be a lot of work. I feel like you want to get some nice big ones here. We're using 3, since it's just the 2 of us. We'll probably each have one of our own and then split the other one.
Yeah.
You could certainly make more of these if you have more people in your family or more people in your household. But that's what we're going to be using today. So we're going to be stuffing them. It's going to be kind of similar to like
a stack.
Yeah, it's going to be like stacked, almost like you would do like a chicken parm with mozzarella cheese and marinara sauce. But instead of doing mozzarella cheese, we're going to be using some goat cheese. It has a nice kind of tangy flavor. I love goat cheese. I missed it immensely when I was pregnant because you can't eat it when you're pregnant. But it's going to have that like little bit of tang. It's a nice soft cheese, so we're going to use that. Some panko breadcrumbs, some marinara sauce. We're using jar tonight. We're going to be using Rayo's marinara. It's a good one that you could get at the supermarket.
It's named after a real place.
Yeah,
You've been.
I have been there. Yep, I have been there.
You gotta know somebody.
But
a guy.
That's true. But it's very yummy marinara. You could certainly make your own sauce if you're going to make this at home. But tonight we're just going to skip this step and we're going to use something that we like.
It was on sale too.
Right, because usually it's kind of expensive, so that's the time to get that sauce.
Yeah, usually it's like $8 or $9 for 16 ounces. And the 16 ounces was actually listed for like $7 or $8. And the 32 ounces on sale for $5.99.
Yeah.
Steal.
So actually, why don't you open that? And I'm just going to put it on this back burner here and just let it slowly simmer while we prepare everything else. That's perfect. Just going to let that do a little simmer. Start warming up on the back there while we prepare our mushrooms and the rest of the stuff that's going inside. Now, the first thing that we're going to do... is, so I'm putting that on low. First thing you want to do before you start anything is preheat your oven to 450. So ours is already heated up. And what we're going to do is we're going to prep our mushrooms and we're going to put them in the oven to cook before we stuff them with anything. We're going to let them cook down and then we'll add the other ingredients on top and then put them back into the oven a little bit later on. We are going to serve this with some pasta. So it's going to be, we're just going to use a penne rigate here that we have. You could serve this on its own and just make multiple portobellos. We're just going to do it with a side of pasta tonight. You could do it with potatoes or veggies
Pasta
or
kind of
rice.
makes sense.
But pasta makes sense because we already have the pasta sauce, so we're not going to waste it. That's what we're going to use tonight. All right. So the first thing, when you open up these portobellos, you want to make sure that they're in good condition. We've had these actually a couple of days, so they're ready to be cooked here. They're still firm, though, so that's what you want. Some people remove the gills from the inside. You don't have to, but if you don't like the texture, certainly take it out. It would kind of make it a little bit easier if you take at least some of it out so that you could stuff them. But you want to rinse them off and pat them dry. Make sure that it's a very light rinse. Yeah, mushrooms don't do well with a lot of water, so you're just gonna kind of, put a little splash of water on them, and then you're gonna pat them dry with a paper towel. And after we pull them out of the oven later, we're gonna take out the excess moisture. You don't want them too wet when you put them back in with the other ingredients.
Yeah, and basically we're just washing them because, it's the vegetable. It grows in the ground. It grows in dirt. So we just want to make sure we get that dirt off.
You could even, if you don't want to put them under the water, you could even just use a wet paper towel and wipe them down. Nobody seems very happy to hear about some mushrooms. So we're going to be stuffing these with some sauteed spinach, some goat cheese, panko breadcrumbs, and some marinara sauce, and they're going to be like stuffed, and we're going to throw them in the oven, and that's going to be good to go. I have my oven preheating, and I also have my water boiling for the pasta, or starting to boil. I have the water on. It's not quite boiled yet.
I'm going to do that. I always do.
Yeah, you're going to take the gills out. That's how we like to do it.
The gills are That's how they breathe, like fish.
Mhm.
I'm just kidding. It's just on the inside. I don't think it's how they actually breathe. It's in that. So you're just gonna take a teaspoon, any spoon, and just lightly pull along the inside, and they're just gonna come right out. And it's really just more of a textural thing. They're completely edible, but texturally, I like it without them. I don't know if I've ever actually had them
I don't
in
know if
them.
I've ever eaten them either, but you want to be gentle with this. You want to try to keep the Portobello in good shape here. So you're just going to lightly kind of, like you said, scoop them out to keep the integrity of the mushroom in good shape. And that looks perfect, just the way it is right there. Hey, Mark. Well done. Yeah, you would like this, Mark. It's a vegetarian meal. So we get our produce, most of our produce, from Misfit Market, and we have these nice portobellos that we got at the end of last week that we haven't used yet, so we were planning to use them this way. Sometimes we often make portobello burgers, like a vegetarian burger using portobello. They're a very meaty mushroom. They have great flavor to them, so they're a great meat substitute.
We love mushrooms.
Yeah, we use a lot of mushrooms. But these are going to be very yummy.
Did you know why the girl wanted to dance with the mushroom?
Why is that?
Because he was a fun guy.
It's in that cute commercial right now.
Yeah, it's a great dad joke.
King of dad jokes here. He was the
Fine.
king of dad jokes
Long
prior to
before
being a
he was
dad. But he is still the reigning king of dad jokes here. But we like them in this house. So, okay, so then those are almost prepped. So what we're going to do is once they're all cleaned out, we're just going to coat them with a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper to season them up. And we're going to throw them in the oven. And we're going to put them in there for about 10 to 15 minutes. They're not extra huge. We only have 3. So we just want to get them to be kind of tender and pre-cooked so that when they're ready to go back in later, they don't have to stay in there for a super long time. So let me get that with salt and pepper. Forgot to do that.
Dogs. Just gonna give these a nice pat dry before I olive oil them up.
We'd recommend using like a non-stick sheet pan if you have it. If not, you want to lightly coat it with some olive oil. But since these are going to be coated with olive oil, they should be just fine.
Yeah, I sprayed it too.
Oh, you did? Okay, so he
For good measure.
pre-sprayed it as well with some ham. So we have some salt and pepper here and a little bit of olive oil.
Let's see.
Oh, sure. Perfect. A little pepper. As you know already, if you've watched us before, we love to season everything up with salt and pepper. That's our little logo here. It's a way to season everything at each kind of step of the game while you're cooking. All right, so these are ready to go in the oven. So you're going to put them in the center rack, and I'll put the timer on for about 10 minutes. If one of our dogs would move out of the way. Ready to go. There she is. If you're new to our channel, we have 3 dogs in our kitchen with us, so it's a little bit challenging when they're under your feet and trying to cook. Okay, so now while that's in there, and I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes, we are going to start prepping some of the other ingredients. This is going to be a really rather quick meal. It doesn't take a whole lot to make it, so he's going to be cutting up some garlic and some shallots. We have like a smaller shallot, a small shallot and a large shallot, and we're going to do at least 5, I would say like 5 cloves of garlic. We're going to use the shallots and the garlic to saute it with our spinach, but we're also going to use them to season up the breadcrumbs. So you're gonna chop everything up, but set aside 2 piles, 1 for each kind of step that we're doing here.
He's having a blast.
Yes, he is. All right. So I'm going to show you how to do this. You could chop them or slice them. Really doesn't matter.
So shallot, you're cutting it. It is an onion. It's just a smaller, more mild onion. So you slice it in half. Take a quick slice off of each end, and we're going to peel the skin off.
Fake out.
Our dogs like to go to the back door and then just stare outside. until we come over and open the door, and then we walk away.
Yeah, they act like they want to go out, and then when you open the door, they don't go out. Or you have one go out, and then come in, and then the next one wants to go out. Right, baby? Happens all the time. Right. Okay. Tonight we're using panko breadcrumbs to get it nice and crispy. If you don't have those, you could use regular breadcrumbs. But panko gives them like a nice. They have like a nice crunch.
Yeah,
nice
they're lighter, they're fluffy, they're crisp. Yeah.
It sounds like he's upset, but he's actually a big smile on his face. Or maybe not. That was a quick shift. All right, so mushrooms are in here cooking. Water is getting ready to boil, and our sauce is simmering on the stove here. Hey, Babs, welcome. All right. Maybe he's not so happy in there anymore. I think he just wants his spot, his dog. There you go. I wanted to hold him. Okay. So this is just going to show you how to prep this stuff up. This is the part that's going to take the longest. Just getting everything kind of chopped up and ready to go. Our water is getting ready to boil here. You could really serve this with any type of pasta you like. We just have some penne that we wanted to use up. So that's what we'll do tonight. But this would certainly be good with like a long noodle, or if you had some rigatoni, or really anything that you want. There's no pasta on this earth that I don't like, really. Realistically, I think I like every type of pasta there is. I love a good pasta.
All right, let's dice this up.
Your mom said she likes your mustache.
Movember.
He likes to grow it for
Movember. No working at the restaurant, so I'm allowed to grow whatever facial hair I want. Although this year they all can because they're wearing masks.
They're wearing masks, that's true. That is true. He's getting really fancy here with the chop on the garlic and making it really nice and fine. We're using shallots, he mentioned before, because they're a little bit more mild. If you don't have a shallot, you could sub in onion instead, but don't use too much onion. I wouldn't go crazy.
See, I definitely won't use too much onion.
Wouldn't go that crazy over the onion.
So I'm just dicing up the garlic, and I'm going to dice up the shallots as well.
That's correct. Or mild for children, Mark remembers. And we're going to be using some spinach tonight. If you have regular spinach, that's fine. If you have baby spinach, that's fine too. Either one works for this. Spinach really wilts down a lot, so we have a really big bag. We may not use all of it tonight in this meal. We'll probably save some and then eat it tomorrow. Because it's a really large bag, and we won't need too much for these 3 Portobellos.
No, but it was on sale.
But it was on sale.
We haven't had spinach in a while.
We love spinach in this house, and yeah, we haven't had it in a while, so it does cook down quite a bit. So it probably will. We probably won't have too much left over. If you're not a fan of spinach, you could leave it out, but I think that this gives it a nice
yeah, I think you need
addition.
a nice leafy green.
Yeah. Agreed.
So the shallot I'm cutting just like an onion, so I'm cutting it long ways with the vein, and then 1 slice across the middle. So that way I'm going to get a nice slice on this larger shallot. I'm going to slice it along the vein, and then I'm going to do 2 slices coming out towards the middle.
Yeah, perfect. You're going to want to use some olive oil to prepare the spinach. So you know what I'm going to do? You're going to use this for the spinach, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to move this over for now, since we're going to do that first. And we're just going to saute this with some olive oil. And we're going to use half of the garlic here, half of the shallots, throw in the spinach, and we can season with some salt and pepper as well. And that's really it. It's going to be light saute on this. And then once that's cooked, we'll move it over to the side and we'll prep the breadcrumbs. You like that idea?
He does. It's fun.
Our little guy has been on the move this week. He is really starting to pull himself up on all of the furniture.
Anything he can.
Anything he can.
Right
if
up
it's
to
a
a stand.
box, if it's a piece of furniture, if it's us.
Right to standing position.
He's starting to stand now. So walking, I feel like, will be happening in the very near future.
Yep. I definitely need to start. Anything I haven't secured to the wall.
We've got to do it now. If you are expecting a child, listen to the advice and baby-proof the house before the baby gets there.
Because you're like, oh, there's time. He said no,
But
and then you turn
it
around
happens
and
like this.
he's standing on everything.
That's amazing. He's cutting those shallots up, and I'm standing over here, and they're making my eyes water.
Wind must be blowing that way. You're okay this time.
Wow. Yeah, they're definitely making me tear up. That never really happens. Okay. So half of that garlic, half of the shallots. We're going to throw in about a tablespoon of olive oil in here. We are going to let the shallots go cook first, okay? So leave that garlic there to the side for a couple of minutes, and then we'll add it when we add the spinach. We're going to put this, he's laughing. We're going to put this on about medium heat, and then we're going to let these shallots cook down until they become translucent. They're really small, so it won't take that long. And then when we're ready, we'll throw the spinach in as well as the garlic. Perfect. A little salt and pepper. Oh, you threw your toy. Now you can't have that in bed. Oh, there it is.
Angry baby. Look out. Give this marinara a quick stir.
You can always doctor up the sauce a little bit if you like to add your own touch to a jarred sauce. But this one has a nice flavor, so we're just going to leave
We don't
it
have to worry
as is.
about it. So these shallots are just sauteing up very nicely in there. Let's give them a little cook. They smell delicious.
Gonna get something ready for dinner.
Yeah, they sort of come out. Mushrooms are good. Take these mushrooms out. They look beautiful. You'll be able to take a look at how they've really cooked down.
Yeah, they get a lot smaller.
And as Sally said before, we're going to try and get rid of this extra water and olive oil. So I'm just going to pick them up and into my sort of trash receptacle. I'm going to get rid of that extra water. It's a little bit of the oil as well, but I just want to get rid of that excess moisture. Perfect. Side. Shallots are cooking up very nicely now, starting to turn almost translucent. And just lower the heat just a touch. And it's just going to need, actually, no more time. I'm going to put the garlic in now. and get our spinach ready. So once the garlic hits into this hot oil, we're going to be about 30 to 60 seconds for that garlic to be cooked. We don't want to burn the garlic. Once you burn the garlic, it's going to be too bitter. It tastes no good. No good. Nothing better than the smell of garlic and onion sauteing.
Yep, that's for sure.
This is 16 ounces of spinach, pre-washed.
Probably is. Usually serve it on there. Can you take a look?
What? Triple wash. There it is in the back. Usually spinach is always triple washed for you, so you don't have to worry about it. All right. So my garlic and shallots are cooked down nicely. Hey, baby. So I'm going to add about half of this. You might be wondering, why am I using this gigantic pot? Well, it's because I'm going to add a lot of spinach in here. And it's just far more user-friendly. I could use a nice little saute pan, but it's going to fill up too quickly. So I'm going to use just a little bit more than half. It's going to cook down, and we're going to eat it, so I'm not really worried. So not quite all of it, but pretty close. Just about fill that up. I'm going to add a touch of olive oil over the top. And a little salt and pepper. He's going down on that napkin.
His dinner's almost ready here.
Nice amount of salt and pepper. Just take my wooden spoon, kind of saute it up. Ooh, I lost that little guy. Good. Sauce is good. Piece of spinach fell in there by accident.
That's alright. Hey, Anastasia! I think it's gonna be pretty good too.
Wilt right on down. So it's just gonna need a couple minutes to wilt down. You don't really have to do much work to it. As it wilts down, it's gonna start to mix up with the garlic and onion. But I'm just gonna let the heat take care of that for us.
Yeah, and you know what? If you kind of just let it sit for a minute, the spinach kind of does all the work.
Yeah.
You don't really have to mess around with it too much. It's going to wilt down. When you have a sec, we just need to salt up this water, and we can throw our pasta in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start preparing those breadcrumbs up. That's the next step.
A little bit of salt. Spinach is wilting down. I'm just kind of moving the spinach from the bottom up to the top. Don't have to do too much work to it, like Sally said. All right, we'll get ready to do our breadcrumbs.
Yeah. So I just brought you some butter there.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to use about, I would say, like a tablespoon of butter or so. And we're going to just let that kind of brown up and heat up. And then we'll add some breadcrumbs. And we're going to add a little bit of Parmesan cheese, too.
Yep. Just about a tablespoon. A little bit over.
All right. Hey, Soul on Fire, welcome.
Did you turn that?
Yes, I will.
Okay,
One
yeah,
second.
never mind.
Anybody in the chat a vegetarian? This is a vegetarian meal.
Alright, brown up this butter. So just have it on just low heat. Just let this butter cook down.
Oh, Soul on Fire is vegetarian. So awesome. This is a meal you could totally make at home. As you know, we don't eat a ton of meat here. We eat chicken and poultry. But we don't eat red meat or pork. So we like to have some vegetarian meals now and again. And we do eat fish. That's what else we eat. Okay, no more spoon for you, I guess, baby.
Very yummy.
All right, so that butter is melting down. Once that kind of gets all the way melted down, then we'll add the breadcrumbs.
Spinach is starting to cook down nicely. I'll give you a quick glimpse of this. So it was completely to the top of the pot. Now we're at about halfway. In just a couple of minutes, it's going to be almost nothing.
Pretty much. Okay, we're going to add our pasta.
So what point do I add the garlic and the shallots to this?
You can do the shallots now in the butter.
In the butter?
Mm-hmm. Let those wilt down a little bit. Then we'll add the breadcrumbs and the garlic. I'm adding our pasta right now into the pasta water. Give that a stir.
Alright.
Alright, and we put that timer on for about 8 minutes for the pasta. Alright. So we're just watching these shallots back here. Let those cook down a bit. I'm also going to give the spinach a stir too. It's almost there. Won't need a whole lot of time. Ah, he lost the spoon. He needs a little help. Okay.
Now the spinach is really cooked in. There we
Yeah,
go.
that looks good. And now with the shallots, in about a minute or so, we can add the rest of the ingredients in there.
So show that our spinach went from completely full, now it's all the way down to just the bottom.
Yeah, I have a feeling we won't have as much as we thought we will with that.
No, I think it's going to be just enough.
Just
for the
enough.
three. Yeah.
All right, so now with these shallots, as they become translucent, we can add the garlic and some breadcrumbs, and we're just going to toast it all up so that they get nice and crusty and crunchy when we throw everything back in the oven. There you go.
Simmering, I'm going to add in this garlic.
Perfect. And then really we're just kind of eyeballing this since since we have the 3 mushrooms, I'm not quite sure exactly how much breadcrumbs we'll put in. We're just going to have to kind of...
What are we doing with the breadcrumbs again?
We're going to brown them up with this.
Yeah, but where are they going?
In here.
No, I understand that. What are the breadcrumbs doing afterwards?
They're going to go on top of the mushrooms.
Oh, okay. I thought we cooked the goat cheese.
No, we don't have to cook
No?
the cheese. No. It'll melt. That'll heat up in the oven.
Oh, okay. There we go. So I added, that's probably like 3 tablespoons of the breadcrumbs, like a little bit
A
more.
little more, yeah. Perfect. Alright, yeah, we're just going to let those kind of brown up a little bit in there. Good stuff. You don't want them to burn, so you're going to watch them. And just kind of make them a little bit
And
more.
you can see they absorbed all the butter.
Yeah, they're going to get a little bit more golden. And then, once that's ready to go, we're actually gonna start setting up our mushrooms to put them back into the oven. So I'm gonna throw just a little bit of Parmesan cheese in with these breadcrumbs too. Just for a little extra flavor. Did you season them up already? Salt and pepper?
The breadcrumbs?
Yeah.
No, I just did the shallow.
Alright, so I'm going to do a little bit of salt and pepper as well. Ah, perfect. These are starting to get nice and toasty. And now we can start really kind of assembling these mushrooms. And the first thing that we're going to put down on the mushrooms is some of the marinara sauce. That's been heating up on the stove for a bit. Alright. Okay, these look good. So you can bring over the mushrooms.
Mushrooms.
And we're just going to top them with some marinara sauce. And the last thing that we'll do is add those. So these look good. So I'm going to turn the heat off of this. We're going to switch over the sauce.
Alright, little marinara going on these.
Where'd your spoon go? A little bit of marinara, then we're going to add the spinach.
So your spinach is going to be pretty wet because there's a lot of liquid into it. So you can either drain it or as you scoop it out, you can just kind of let it drain off.
Yeah. Or you could even use like a flatted spoon if you have one.
Spinach there.
Alright. I'm going to taste this pasta. It should be just about ready to go.
Yeah, probably.
So these are already looking very pretty, if you can see them on the spoon there. I'm going to let the pasta cook for about just one more minute.
All right, we're spinached up.
Okay, now it's time for the goat cheese.
All right, so let's set these aside for a moment to slice the goat cheese. What is that? Hi, baby.
And now it's probably best to keep the goat cheese a little bit on the cooler side so that it's easier to cut into like little medallions. But you would also just crumble them up on the top. It really doesn't make a difference.
So the reason I was asking about the breadcrumbs before is because the way I saw it on the recipe was that I felt like they coated the goat cheese in the breadcrumbs.
Oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
It's like a little, almost like a goat cheese, like marinara stick sort of style. Mozzarella stick.
Ah, yeah, that's a good idea. No, he's not hungry. He's just finished eating. He just doesn't want to be in his chair anymore. He actually wants some water. I'm going to get him his water.
Might be his favorite part of the meal.
Is to get some water. That's right.
This breadcrumbs smells so good. Just butter and bread. You really can't go wrong. I got it. Sure.
Alright, so the pasta's out, and I'm just going to coat it with some of the sauce that we have. We certainly didn't use all of the sauce before for the mushrooms, so I'm just going to add it to a bowl here that has pasta in it and coat that up. I'm going to add a little bit of Parmesan cheese in there too.
Alright, cool. And then we do a little breadcrumb on top.
Yeah. And then we're going to throw those in the oven. Why are you screaming like that?
Ooh, these are looking pretty.
And since this was a nice big jar of sauce, we have extra sauce too.
No problem. I guess we'll have pasta tomorrow night.
Yeah.
That's not an issue here.
No, it's not. You can certainly eat pasta 5 days a week. That's fine with me. Yep, and then we're going to throw these.
These are good.
They look beautiful. Yeah, I really want you to see them on the camera in just a minute once he tops them off with some more of the breadcrumbs. They look amazing.
So I just rolled the goat cheese to start, and then just topping the breadcrumb on top. Just trying to actually kind of work it around.
Yeah. And how much breadcrumb did you use? You used about, you said like about 3 tablespoons?
I'd say probably even more. I'd say, I don't know, maybe a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup, give or take. The smell of these breadcrumbs with just the butter, the garlic, and the shallots is unreal. Do you want to switch so I can hold them, or?
I'm going to hold them now. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so those are going to go in for the, and they're going to be in there, I would say about 10 minutes. And while we let those cook, I'm going to put the timer on for about 10 minutes. You try those breadcrumbs. Oh. Man,
So
I could just eat that.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, those are good.
So simple, but so
Delicious.
tasty.
I'm gonna eat another spoonful. Mm-mm-mm.
Hold on, I have an idea. I'll eat another one.
Are you gonna give me some goat cheese too? Oh boy. Right up my alley.
There you go, scoop that one out.
Perfect. Yummy, yummy. Mmm. You can just have those as appetizers.
Yeah.
Yum.
I think anything with panko tastes better.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about using panko breadcrumbs for like
For
2
like
weeks.
2 weeks already, yeah. And this was really good. So while the mushrooms are in the oven now, I'm just gonna do a little bit of cleaning. So that we don't have a ton of stuff to clean up once they're ready to go. Because now the pasta's already ready. And once these mushrooms are done, we'll pull them out and we'll plate them with our pasta and we'll be ready to eat dinner. So this doesn't take a whole lot of time, this meal. If you're going to be... I'm distracted by baby crying. I don't remember what I was just going to say.
It doesn't take that long. Something along those lines.
Yeah, it doesn't take that long. It'll come to me. But when these come out, please make sure to be watching your mushrooms when they're in the oven because you don't want the breadcrumbs to burn up. So just be mindful of that you're keeping an eye on them, even if you have a timer set. All right, for the vegetarians that are in the chat, what are some of your go-to vegetarian meals, your meatless meals, that you love to make in your own house? And are you fans of mushrooms? Like we said, we love mushrooms here. We use them quite a bit in our cooking. And we use a variety of mushrooms. There's so many different types, so many different flavors that you could use that are so yummy. I'm gonna finish off these breadcrumbs.
Oh. Right in the face.
Yummy, yummy, yummy. I'm just helping to clean up by, eating these off of the pan here.
Oh yeah, it's always a good thing.
Okay, I'm gonna put away this goat cheese unless you would like some more.
No, I'm good.
You're good. Okay. So yeah, this is really it. We're just gonna let these kind of cook down and let the goat cheese melt down just a bit. And this is gonna be a little bit different, like we said, than let's say like a chicken parm that you use mozzarella cheese with. Mozzarella cheese is a little bit more mild. Goat cheese has a little bit of a tanginess to it, so the flavor is gonna be a little bit different. But if you don't like goat cheese, you could certainly sub in a different type of cheese that you do like, if you prefer mozzarella cheese to it. Okay. Oh, and I did forget to add a little bit of Parmesan cheese to this pasta, so I'm going to do that. Who doesn't like a little bit of Parmesan on top of their pasta? And then we have some leftover sauce that we will certainly use tomorrow night in a pasta dish. I'm a big fan of Portobello mushrooms. We obviously like to use these big caps like this and make them into burgers or just stuff them like in this way. But they're also really good if you slice them and you saute them and put them on top of salads or add them into pasta dishes. They're very versatile. They're very meaty, so they're a great substitute to meat. Those are looking pretty good already, I think, to be honest. I'm going to actually lower the heat because the breadcrumbs on top are starting to crisp up a little bit. So we had it on 450. I'm turning it down to 400. And then I'm going to check on those in a minute because they look like they're ready to go. Quite a burp, baby. Oh, wow. Maybe that's why you were fussy with your dinner. Needed to let one of those out. Whoa, you're excited for this. Okay. So we got some move this all over. I'm gonna just move this cutting board here so that I can put our plates down and our mushrooms. Pull those out. Excuse me, dog. Yeah, here we go. And check these out. They look yummy. Oh no!
There you go. You got it.
Sorry about that. All right, here we go. Look at how pretty those look. So yum. All right, so these are actually ready to go. Since we already preheated or pre-cooked these mushrooms before we added the toppings, we really don't have anything else to do. They were already cooked down. So what we're going to do now is we're going to plate up our pasta and throw one of these on top, and then we're going to be good to go, and our dinner is done. I will post a picture of this dish on our Instagram page tonight, as well as the recipe. But let's plate this up, and then I'll give you a little gander at that, and then we're going to sign off for the night.
Anastasia said they are perfect. Yummy.
Yeah, these are going to be really yummy. We do have some of this pasta sauce on reserve, so if you wanted to add a little bit more sauce to your pasta or add a little bit of sauce on top
I probably
of
will.
this,
I like a lot of
he
sauce.
likes to add a lot of sauce. Yeah, I'm not as big into the sauce as he is.
Works out. I take your extra sauce.
Exactly. He takes the extra sauce.
Big yawn.
Big yawn, baby's tired. Yeah.
Thanks, Mark. He said they look yummy.
Yeah, these are gonna be yummy. And I think that it's just like we said, sometimes even though we're not full vegetarians, we like to cook without meat a good amount. So it's really nice to kind of have some different choices in your repertoire instead of, only having meat.
Yeah. And I feel like this would be a great option if you use the baby bellas and made like a mini
An
version.
appetizer.
Just make them as an
Oh,
like
absolutely.
A stuffed mushroom.
A stuffed mushroom cap would be great as an appetizer. Okay. I'm just gonna add a little bit of sauce. Oh, somebody's a little tired. He didn't take a second nap today. He's been actually napping better the last couple of days, though.
Food on your forehead.
All right, and I'm just gonna top that right on top of our pasta.
Good job.
Check that out.
That's plating.
Yeah, I never do the plating. Jimmy's much better. I'm usually a mess. I mean, you can see there's sauce and everything on the side of the plate, but here we go. So this is Our Dinner is Done. We're gonna sign off for the night. I will raid a random channel, cooking channel. Let's see what's out there tonight, and see what else is going on. All right. Yes, I'm glad that you all think it looks good. I think it looks good. We're ready to eat. So, like I said, let me find